this episode, we are moving into a part of support work that is easy to overlook when you are new, because it does not always look like technical work at first. Many beginners think the job is mainly about getting a device working again, fixing the login problem, or replacing the bad part as quickly as possible. That matters, but it is not the whole job. A technician also has to protect the user, protect the organization, and protect the information connected to the problem. That means thinking about privacy, software licensing, compliance rules, and what to do when a support issue may actually involve a security incident. A person can solve the immediate problem and still cause a much bigger one if private data is exposed, if software is used in the wrong way, if required rules are ignored, or if important evidence is changed or destroyed. Good support work means fixing the issue with care, not just getting the issue out of sight. Before we continue, a quick note. This audio course is part of our companion study series. The first book is a detailed study guide that explains the exam and helps you prepare for it with confidence. The second is a Kindle-only ebook with 1,000 flashcards you can use on your mobile device or Kindle for quick review. You can find both at CyberAuthor.me in the Bare Metal Study Guide series. Privacy is one of the clearest examples of this bigger responsibility. When a technician touches a device, an account, or a business system, that technician may also be close to personal data, company data, or both at the same time. A laptop may contain email, saved passwords, private photos, financial records, payroll information, medical documents, customer lists, or internal business files. A phone may hold text messages, contact lists, call history, and application data that the user never expected anyone else to see. Support access should always be based on need, not curiosity. The fact that a technician can see something does not mean that technicians should look through it. That is one of the most important habits a beginner can build early. Respect for privacy means using the minimum access needed to do the work, avoiding unnecessary browsing through user content, and remembering that people trust support staff with systems that often contain the most personal and sensitive parts of their digital lives. A useful way to think about privacy is that support access should stay focused on the problem. If the issue is a printer setup, there is no reason to go searching through personal folders. If the issue is a browser problem, there is no reason to open private email unless it directly relates to the reported symptom and the user understands why. Good technicians explain what they need to do before doing it, especially when the work may briefly expose personal or sensitive information. They also protect screens from unnecessary viewing by nearby people and avoid speaking private details out loud in shared spaces. This matters in offices, schools, healthcare settings, and even home support visits, because private information can be exposed in simple ways without anyone intending harm. A beginner should learn that privacy is not only about large data breaches. It is also about small daily choices, such as where you look, what you open, what you repeat, and how much information you expose while trying to solve a routine problem. This is also where data categories become important. Personally identifiable information, PII, includes information that can identify a person, such as name, address, phone number, date of birth, account details, or identification numbers. Personal health information, PHI, includes health-related information connected to a specific person, and that can require even more care in some environments. A technician does not need to become a lawyer to understand the basic rule. If information is personal, sensitive, or business critical, it should be handled carefully and exposed only when there is a clear support reason. That means locking a screen when stepping away, avoiding screenshots that capture more than necessary, and not moving sensitive files to personal storage just because it seems convenient in the moment. It also means thinking before asking a user to read private details aloud over the phone or in front of others. Good privacy habits protect the user and protect the technician from making mistakes that are hard to undo once the information has already been exposed. Another common privacy mistake happens when technicians become too casual because they work around devices all day. Familiarity can make people forget that a company laptop is still full of someone's work life, and a personal phone used for business may also contain someone's family life. That is why a professional approach matters so much. A technician should never browse through photos, documents, messages, or browser history just because the device is unlocked and easy to explore. A technician should also avoid keeping copies of user files, credentials, or screenshots after the job is done unless there is a real business need and an approved process behind it. Even temporary notes can create risk if they contain passwords, account numbers, or personal information. Support work often requires access, but it does not give permission for unnecessary viewing, copying, or sharing. The simplest rule is often the best one. See only what you need to see, record only what you need to record, and protect what you touch as if it were your own private information. Software licensing is another area where new learners sometimes assume the rules are just an administrative issue for someone else. In reality, support staff can easily create licensing problems if they install, move, share, or reuse software carelessly. A software license is permission to use a product under specific terms, and those terms matter even when the software seems easy to copy or simple to activate. Some licenses allow use on one device, some allow use by one named user, some are subscriptions, and some are tied to a business agreement that defines exactly how the product can be deployed. End User License Agreement, EULA, is the name often used for the terms that describe how software may be used. A technician does not need to memorize every legal detail, but that technician does need to understand the basic point. Software is not just a file to install wherever it fits. It is something the organization is allowed to use only in approved ways, on approved systems, and in approved quantities. Licensing mistakes often happen during rushed support work. A user needs an application quickly, so someone installs it without checking whether the device is covered. A technician reuses a product key from one machine on another because it seems easier than following the normal process. A team keeps one shared account for many people even though the license was meant for one person only. In other cases, a technician may install free software without checking whether it is actually approved for business use. These actions may look minor at the time, but they can create real trouble later. The organization could fail an audit, violate a contract, lose vendor support, or expose itself to legal and financial penalties. There is also a security angle, because unapproved software can bring risk along with convenience. Good technicians understand that doing the job properly includes checking whether the software is allowed, whether the device is covered, and whether the install follows the organization's approved method instead of whatever shortcut seems fastest that afternoon. Compliance is a broader idea, but for beginners it can be understood in plain language. Compliance means following the rules the organization is required to follow. Those rules may come from laws, contracts, internal policies, industry standards, or customer requirements. A technician may not be the person who writes those rules, but the technician still affects whether the organization follows them in daily work. If the rules say certain data must be protected, the technician has to handle that data carefully. If the rules say only approved software may be installed, the technician cannot ignore that because a user is impatient. If the rules say systems must be documented, patched, or disposed of in a certain way, support staff play a direct part in making that happen. Compliance is not only a manager's problem or an auditor's problem. It becomes a support problem the moment a technician touches a device, an account, a file, or a business process that falls under those rules. For that reason, good support work depends on process discipline. A beginner may feel tempted to fix the problem first and worry about the paperwork later, but that habit can create weak records, missed approvals, and actions the organization cannot defend later. If software was installed, there should be a proper record. If hardware was replaced, the asset record should be updated. If sensitive data was involved, the technician should follow the approved handling process instead of making up a personal method on the spot. If a request falls outside normal support, that may mean the technician needs to pause and escalate rather than push forward alone. None of this is about making simple work feel complicated. It is about making sure the organization can show what happened, why it happened, and whether the correct path was followed. When beginners understand compliance this way, it stops sounding like a distant legal word and starts looking like a series of careful daily actions that support staff perform every time they touch important systems. Things become even more serious when a support issue may actually involve a security incident. At first, the problem may look ordinary. A user reports strange pop-up windows, missing files, repeated login prompts, or a computer that suddenly became very slow. A phone might show unknown messages, a browser may open pages on its own, or a system log may reveal activity at odd times. In a normal support mindset, the technician may feel pressure to start clicking, cleaning, restarting, and testing right away. But when incident evidence may be present, careless actions can make the situation worse. More importantly, they can destroy clues that would help explain what happened. This is why technicians must learn to recognize when a problem is no longer just a routine fix. If malware, unauthorized access, data theft, or policy violation may be involved, the work changes. The goal is no longer only to restore normal function as fast as possible. The goal also becomes preserving useful evidence, protecting affected systems, and involving the right people quickly. Evidence handling sounds advanced, but the basic idea is simple. If a system may be part of a security incident, the technician should avoid changing it more than necessary until the right process is followed. That means not deleting suspicious files just because they look dangerous, not clearing logs to make the system look cleaner, and not rebooting a machine simply because restarting often fixes normal support issues. A reboot can erase valuable clues about what was running, who was connected, or what the system was doing at that moment. Good evidence handling also means documenting what was observed, when it was observed, who reported it, and what actions were taken. If a device must be moved, isolated, or transferred to another team, that handoff should be recorded clearly so the organization knows who had access and what happened along the way. This kind of careful record-keeping helps preserve trust in the evidence. It also helps investigators, security staff, and managers make better decisions based on facts instead of guesses. The biggest evidence handling mistakes usually come from good intentions mixed with poor timing. A technician wants to help, so that technician starts running extra tools, moving files, or trying random cleanup steps before anyone has decided whether the device should be preserved. Another technician may open many programs to look around, which changes timestamps and system activity in ways that make later review harder. Someone else may ask the user to keep using the device as normal, even though that may override important traces of what happened. In some cases, the technician may even try to prove the issue by repeating suspicious behavior, which can spread damage or destroy evidence. Beginners should understand that careful restraint is sometimes the most professional response. Not every strange device needs to be frozen immediately, but once incident signs appear, support work must slow down and become more deliberate. The right move may be to isolate the system, stop making changes, write down what you know, and escalate according to the organization's process rather than trying to be the hero who fixes everything alone. Professional communication matters throughout all of this because users are often confused, worried, or embarrassed when privacy, licensing, or security concerns are involved. A technician should speak clearly and calmly, explain what is needed, and avoid casual language that makes the situation sound less important than it is. If private data may be visible, the user should understand why access is needed and what steps are being taken to protect that information. If software cannot be installed because of licensing or policy limits, the technician should explain that the limit is there for a reason and offer the proper path instead of acting as if compliance is just a personal preference. If a possible incident is being escalated, the user should know that this does not automatically mean blame. It means the organization needs to handle the situation carefully. Clear communication builds trust. It also reduces the chance that a user or another technician will take actions that make privacy exposure, licensing trouble, or evidence loss more likely. A simple example helps tie these ideas together. Imagine a user brings in a company laptop and says a document is missing, strange login prompts appeared last night, and the machine now feels slow. A rushed technician might start searching through folders, opening recent files, installing unapproved cleanup tools, and restarting the laptop several times. That approach could expose private documents, create licensing problems, and erase useful evidence if the issue turns out to involve unauthorized access. A better approach is calmer and more controlled. Confirm the report, limit unnecessary viewing of the user's content, note the symptoms, avoid careless changes, follow the approved process, and escalate if incident signs are present. Now imagine a different case where a user wants a paid application installed on a second device because it is more convenient. The technician should not simply copy the software and reuse the key. That may violate the license and place the organization in a weak position later. In both cases, The right answer comes from thinking beyond the quick fix and protecting the organization while helping the user. By the end of this topic, the main lesson should be clear. Support work is not only about making technology function again. It is also about handling information, software, and possible incidents in a way that protects the user and protects the organization. Privacy means using only the access you need and treating personal or sensitive information with respect. Licensing means using software only in approved ways, even when shortcuts seem easy. Compliance means following the rules that apply to the environment, not ignoring them because the problem feels urgent. Evidence handling means knowing when a support issue may be part of something larger and avoiding careless actions that destroy important facts. These habits are not separate from technical skill. They are part of what makes technical work professional. When beginners learn to fix problems with this wider sense of responsibility, they become the kind of technicians people can trust with systems, data, and difficult situations.
Thanks for listening. For more audio courses, daily newsletters, and more, please visit baremetalcyber.com.